Ladies and gentlemen, it's a gorgeous cheesecake. I'm here to tell you, this one is definitely worth your time. Well, it is a video on cheesecake, the recipe version. Hey, folks, this is a simple, basic cheesecake recipe. No frills, nothing fancy. There's no swirls in it. There's no fruit on top. There's no special toppings. Just basic cheesecake. Okay, no special flavors, nothing. The base recipe. This is the recipe that you take and then build on it with all kinds of other stuff, like many of the things I just mentioned. We're going to do a basic graham cracker crust. We're going to start without the benefit of having the graham crackers pre-crushed. I've got to do all of that. We're going to season those up, sweeten them up a little bit, and produce a nice crust using plenty of butter. And this, you're going to be surprised. When it comes to cheesecake recipes, they all basically follow a certain simple basic structure in how they go together and in what they're made of. The ingredients are very simple, and it's not hard to tweak them and change them to your own taste. So folks, let's get in the kitchen. Let me show you a basic cheesecake recipe, and you're going to enjoy. Oh, hold on. Like the cap? Yeah, we got Texas Cooking Today merchandise is going to be hitting S.A.Trotter.com. That's my website. So I will be putting this new cap on there very soon. There's going to be an apron to come and a few other neat items. So get ready for that. So the merchandise for Texas Cooking Today, the link is in the description below. But for now, let's look at the recipe. Come on. Now folks, this fantastic and yet easy recipe, our ingredients are cream cheese, sour cream, sugar, eggs, and vanilla. That's the cake, folks. The crust, we have some spices here, some cinnamon and allspice. Also a little sugar, some graham crackers right here, and butter. Now I have enough of this out for a double crust, meaning an edge crust as well as a base. Now for this recipe, I'm using a 9.5-inch springform pan. You're going to want a nice deep one. This is a couple of inches deep. You're also going to be needing some cooking parchment. You know, that stuff. And a sheet pan to put this on when baking it. That is pretty much basic ingredients when it comes to springform. Now I'm going to be lining this with paper as well as buttering that paper, so it all kind of works really in a neat way when it comes to pulling the cheesecake out of the pan as well as handling it and moving it around. So these are your basic tools. When it comes to mixing your cheesecake, remember, the less work you do, generally the better it comes out. Now folks, to make the crust, I've already ran my graham crackers through a blender, and now I have this wonderful graham cracker crumb. I'm going to be mixing in my sugar, cinnamon, allspice into this, and I need to melt the butter. Once it's melted, I'll just pour it in, mix it all together, and then that becomes the crust material. You just pack it into place and it'll hold wonderfully. Well, I have made my graham cracker crumbs, and I went ahead and mixed in the sugar, my allspice, and my cinnamon are all mixed into this. I've melted my butter, and I'm just going to get it down in here. As soon as the two are mixed together, this produces enough crust to do the entire pan, bottom and sides, okay? So there it is, folks. Go ahead and get it mixed and pressed in there. And there it is. We have that beautiful crust ready to go, packed in most of the way up on the top. There's a few spots that missed, but you know what? That's not going to matter. When this is said and done, it's going to be beautiful, okay? So we're not worried about that at all. I need to get this in the oven and get it baked. It's 10 minutes at 350 degrees right there. Okay, remember this is delicate, so handle it that way. In that oven, 350 degrees, 10 minutes. Folks, I have my mixer here, and I'm not using a mixer because this requires a lot of beating or anything. I'm just using it because, well, I'm using my mixer. Okay, this is one of those recipes you can do it by hand. But frankly, the hardest part of this is just softening the cream cheese. It's already at room temperature, so it's going to be very pliable and easy to work with for me. And so I've just got to give this a little bit of softening time, and that only takes a couple of minutes. Once it starts getting soft, I then am going to start working in the sour cream and sugar, also that vanilla extract. The very last thing I do is the eggs, and during this whole process I never run this at a high speed, and I never try to beat any of it. It's all about keeping air from getting into it. Kind of the opposite of a regular cake where you're trying to whip air into everything. This is the opposite. You're trying to prevent the air from getting in there. Now, the eggs produce a somewhat custard-like quality if they're incorporated properly, but if they get too much air, then it gives a more cake-like quality, and we're not looking for that. I have pulled the crust out of the oven. It looks pretty good for the most part. Shrunk a little bit on the edges, kind of expected that, but it is set up beautifully. So this is ready to go. It's ready for my cake. Alrighty, now I've started working in my eggs. We'll work those in one at a time. And you need to just gently beat them, nothing more than that right there, a light scramble before adding each one in. And remember, we're being gentle, we're not trying to add air. All I have to do is now get my cake batter right down into my crust. Now it's time for a little treat to hit the oven. And 375 degrees, 1 hour. I have just pulled him from the oven. I'm going to let that sit. I'm being very gentle with it. It just needs to sit, and it's going to fall, okay? It's going to fall a whole lot. So be patient with it. And the color I have on this is a nice, lovely caramel color, and this is pretty much the way I like it to look. The total quantity of everything we used today started with 2 pounds of cream cheese, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 cup of sour cream, 1 cup of sugar. I like to use a cane sugar on this one, and 3 large eggs. On that crust, folks, on this it came down to about 1.3 cups to 1.5 cups of crumbs for a single crust. Now I doubled that up, all right, so I used 2 of these packs and 2 sticks of butter, so you know that's a whole lot more butter there. We're talking about 1 cup of butter, and 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and that gives us enough for that double. So we have enough for the bottom as well as the side on that spring form. This has had enough time to cool, enough so I can touch it. Now very gently, we want to release the spring on this. Don't let it just pop open, because you don't want, well, you don't want it causing damage, all right? So we released that. And watch how that just slips off of there. Isn't that nice? So now we have our paper to deal with here. And I need to get that off of there. There we go. We'll just slide out gently. There we go. And there we have it. And I would like you to notice that right here is that little tab that we have. So when it comes time for me to remove this from the base, I can simply use this to slide it right off of there. Right now is the time to do that. But I wanted y'all to take a good look at this, at how it came out. Now, I'll say this, I'm not the world's most perfect at making a cheesecake, but frankly, this does not look too bad. If I were to fill this with, let's say, some cherries and maybe top it with some whipped cream, that would be a really neat thing to do. There's a lot of different options here. So feel free to experiment, but what you see, we have a beautiful cheesecake. It's going to be enjoyable, but it has to finish cooling, and this is a long ways from that. I can't slice into this until it becomes about 40 degrees, and that's going to be about another 4 to 6 hours in cooling. So it's had 2 hours. It's now handleable. Let's get it onto that plate. So there we go. Grab my piece of parchment and simply pull my base out. There you have it. And that's how that parchment with the little tab on the corner can really help you out, folks. Isn't that neat? Been enjoying my work. The flavor came out perfect. Folks, you want a good cheesecake recipe, this one will get you there. Man, that's where it is at right there. Smooth, creamy, just melts in your mouth, just delicious. Thank you very much for watching this show. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. If you would take a look at my channel, there's a lot more recipes there. If you would take a look at my website too, S.A.Trotter.com. That's where you're going to get neat stuff like this. Appreciate you watching, and folks, enjoy your cheesecake. Thank you. Yeah. Spot on.